All right, a king showed up in in Exodus chapter 1. A king showed up that knew no Joseph. Now, I want to say something about this, which is something that I believe that would help on some of the narrative that is on ground. And for some people, you will not like these very particular conversations, but you're going to pardon me. It's just a thought that I've been pondering about for the past couple of weeks. And so today, I was like, okay, let's just have a conversation around this, and we'll see how it goes. But let's look at the scripture. In the book of Exodus chapter 1 from verse 6, and I'm going to read. It's going to be a bit of a long read, so but it will bless you literally. And this will literally address the whole concept of foreigners. It will address the concept of migrant and all of this very particular thing. The angle that we're going to be taking it into, literally you enjoy the angle, I promise you. But let's look at verse 6. The Bible says here, it says, in the time Joseph and all his brothers died, it says, ending the entire generation, it says, but their descendants, which is the Israelite, had many children and grandchildren. In fact, they multiplied so greatly that they become extremely powerful and filled the earth. Mark you, remember, these very particular people were migrants who literally are residing currently now in Egypt. So when you see people traveling, it didn't start now, started from the Bible. Let's go. I'm going somewhere. It says eventually a new king came to power, and this is where the clean shot of this conversation is. A new king came to power who knew nothing about Joseph or what Joseph has done. We'll talk about that. Verse 9 says, he said to his people, look, the people of Israel now outnumber us and are stronger than we. He said, we must make a plan to keep them from growing even more. If we don't, if war breaks out, they will join our enemy and fight against us. Then they will escape from the country. So when you see fight that is happening in different countries, just know that it's not now. It was a planned stuff, and this same plan is what we're currently seeing. Now, verse 11 now says here, it says, so the Egyptians made the Israelites their slave. Remember, the Egyptians were the owner of the country, just like, for example, South Africa is the owners. South Africans, original indigenous of South Africans, are the owner. Ghanaians are the owner of their country called Ghana. Nigeria is the owner of the country called Nigeria. Let's keep going. I'm going somewhere. It says, so the Egyptians made the Israelites, who are the foreigners in the state or in their country, their slaves. They appoint brutal slave drivers, which means what happened here is the fact that those very particular slaves, they give them an appointment, making them feel as if they are the boss, but they are just a slave driver. So it's a crowned slave. It's like, for example, having a slave environment where you will have one of the person in that very particular place, they made them a captain to be able to subjugate the people more because that person understands the English, the person can be bought. South Africa will say the person is an impimpi. Let's keep going. We're going somewhere. You will like this conversation. I bet you will like it. Now, this is what happened. They appoint brutal slaves over them, hoping to wed them with crushing labor. They forced them to build the city of Patons and Ramesses as supply center for the king. It says, but the more the Egyptians oppress them, the more the Israelites multiply and spread. And directly, the more you are shouting, foreigner must go, the more foreigners literally. I'm looking for a trouble now, but we're going somewhere. The trouble will be bigger than this. It says, but the more the Egyptians oppress them, the more the Israelites multiply and spread. It says, the more alarmed the Egyptians also become, which means the more they become angry and they are shouting, leave our country, we don't want, to the point that they even have a day that they chase foreigners out of their country. It's not new, it's in the Bible. Let's go somewhere, verse 13. It says, so the Egyptians worked with the people of Israel without mercy. It said they made their life bitter, forcing them to mix mortar and make brick and do all the works in the field. It says they were ruthless in their demand. They were ruthless. Mark the word. They were ruthless in their demand. Now, this conversation literally has two plays into it, and I'm going to be fast about this because I'm not intending to make this one a very long video. If you notice what happened here, literally in verse 6, it says, eventually a new king arose that knew not what Joseph has done in the city. Sometimes this is a thing about when we see different disparities and wars, xenophobic conversations or black on black hate happen within our borders, especially in Africa, is because somebody chooses to ignore and deny the contribution that the so-called migrants have literally contributed in that very particular space. If you notice what happened here, it says the king knew. This was Joseph who literally built, for lack of a better word, a preservative of food, preserved their great grandfathers and stuff for decades. Now, one thing we all know about Egypt is a country, or probably, for lack of a better word, a province that literally will keep history. That's why till tomorrow, literally, we still have histories of the Egyptians literally still there. Apart from what happened, whereby some of these guys from the colonial war, they came into Egypt, they burned down some of these things because they don't want Egypt to look as if they started development, because literally Egypt is one of the countries in the world that was really developed. So Africans has never been subjugated. Africans have never have a problem with being smart. We are creative people. Even with Zimbabwe, for instance, there is part of articles that say Zimbabweans are also part of the force when it comes to development in Africa. But, well, things happen. Colonial era came in. They blot out all our, artifact, our histories, change our curriculum, and give us what they want. Because at the end of the day, if they can rename us, then which means they can change a lot of our narratives. Now, let's come to what I'm talking about. This king showed up, and they said this king had no knowledge. I can tell you point blank, the king just decided was the fact that the king was just afraid. The king looked and said, okay, fine. There is Zimbabweans in our country. There is Nigeria in our country. There is Congolese in our country. There is Ghanaian in our country and stuff. And if we don't come together for us to be able to put this narrative, it's not just even about there is no job. Because let's be honest, the king here understand that the people can do the job, but the king literally decided to create a system and make these so-called foreigners to literally become a slave in that very particular place. Because why? They want to defranchise them, or they want to de-empower them so that they can build the system. But that's okay. Now, this is the thing here. When you find the rhetoric that is going out there, don't be quick to judge that very particular king or to judge its people. First and foremost, check what was the knowledge that that king was fed with for him to be able to do this. Because let's be honest, the king would have had council of elders. The question I need to ask you, who are your advisors that is helping you to change the narratives or to edit the actions that you're currently taking? Because if you're patient enough for you to ask, why do we have so many migrants in our continent? In our country? Why do we have Congolese, Nigeria, Tanzanians, and all of those things literally in Ghana? Why do we have Nigerians, Mozambique, and all of those people in Rwanda? Go check. The same thing also applies to South Africa, where I also represent. Why do we have all of these things? Chances are, if you are patient enough for you to check the history, you'll find something that literally will make you understand that the actions we're taking may not be there. But this is one side. Now, this is the flip side. Hear me. If you're an African migrant living in any country of the world, I can tell you point blank, there will come a particular time where a king will arise that will not know the event and the investment that you have made in that country. Let's be honest. Let's look at all of the Fortune 500 organization. Check it. The owners literally, they build their businesses from the country of their birth. Literally, they build their businesses. I think I was thinking about this, like I say, for the past couple of weeks, and I'm laughing. I know that, yes, you are building that very particular tech company in London. You are building that infrastructure or the road company in South Africa. I know you are building a food, what's called production plants in Zimbabwe. Or maybe you are building a chocolate factory currently now in Ghana as an Africa. To get to a particular point, hear me, you'll be forgotten. It's not a prayer. It's not a curse. It's just called the antecedents of life, because a king will literally come that would deny all your investment. But you cannot build what you are building in your own motherland or in your own country, and yet you'll be forgotten. It is impossible. Joseph did all of that in Egypt, and yet somebody rise after a couple of years and says, we don't know who the hell is Jacob. So, Joseph, that's why you can see that no matter how much a foreigner will try to do something in a country that is not theirs, a system will come one day that will wipe out all of the investment and all of their input in that very particular country. So hear me, fam. If you're a diaspora like my kind, somebody once said to me, you are the president of African in diaspora. I say, I agree, because I'm going to be teaching my people how for us to become relevant. If you are a diaspora person listening to me right now, please always have Exodus chapter 1 verse 8 in your mind, that one day a king will come up in this very particular country that will not be able to understand the input that we have done thus far, and the only place you can be saved is literally your mother country or your fatherland, for lack of a better word. The question I need to ask you now, looking at you currently now with the camera, what investment are you making back home in your country? What investment? I know that your country will say there is no infrastructure, there is no this, the government is 1, 2, and 3, and co. The country where you are currently, let me say this from a standpoint of experience, there is no way you will be so rich than the system of that very particular country. Because a king can literally rise tomorrow and wipe out all your investment. I know you will say, yes, but what about in Nigeria? Look at what happened to what's the name of this man who was building some beach landmark. That's the name I'm looking for. Look at what happened to landmark and all of that, but that's just 1 in a million. Your case will be different. And I'm using this very particular video to literally beg and appeal to Africans in diaspora to please, regardless of the country you come from, as yourself acclaimed president of African in diaspora, I want to encourage you, please consider investing back home. Consider investing. I know that yes, you have spent 20 years in UK. You have spent 15 years in the state. You have spent 30 years in South Africa. You have spent 40 years in Rwanda. Hear me. It is high time for you to look back, because a king will arise tomorrow that will say they don't know you. And trust me, all of those very particular things you have built to be wiped out by one policy. One policy. I know you will say, okay, but that same policy can also affect you in your local country where you find yourself. Yes, but at least it is better. No matter how much we want to talk about Nigerian development, we will still give it to some of these guys. I'm going to mention some of their names in no particular order. One of them, Aluku Dangote, Mike Adenuga, Femi Otedola, what's his name again? The GTB person, the UBA, all of these guys who are literally playing a change, even down to, I think it's called Bao Cement or something like that. They are all building something in the country. Do you want to tell me that they have no luxury for them to live in diaspora or live outside and build it there? They do. But they understand this concept that eventually a king will come out that will not know about the investment that they have made. And so with this being said, I'm calling you. Maybe you're an African living in diaspora and you're busy thinking that, okay, I hear you, Darlington, but how do I get my business for it to be incorporated in Nigeria? And this is where I'm going to bring this very particular platform known as AfriOne Life. AfriOne Life will have an investment menu inside AfriOne Life, literally, that we can then be able to help you look at the loopholes that are in Nigeria, for instance, or in the country where you are interested, or in the country where you are born from, because I think we're talking about a back home investment. In the country where you are born from, for you, we can then be able to help you. Is it mining? Is it agriculture? Is it transportation? Currently now in Nigeria, we need what we call an ecosystems. We need infrastructure. You have money for you to be able to build infrastructure. Why don't you call us on the number, or probably the accounts that you're seeing on the screen, and say, Darlington, this is what we are planning to do and stuff. How do you think we can be able to benchmark? Because clearly a king will arise currently in UK, or currently in America, or currently in Canada, or maybe in South Africa or in Ghana, but it's high time for me to go back home and build something. I'm encouraging you, please hear me, family. Regardless of the country where you come from, I encourage you, look for the players in those countries and begin to ask them good questions. How do I come back home to build? Because at the end of the day, a king will definitely arise that will say, we don't know you. The same thing also I'm calling to all my Nigerians scattered across the face of the earth. I mean, the face of the earth. You can literally sit back in your country and use us as AfriOne Life for you to be able to do your investments or your investigations as to what is selling, what is the trend, what is the market. And one thing I guarantee that we can help you do is the fact that we can look at a new market that may not be popular now and make you a king in that very particular place. And by the time you're coming back home, you're not coming back to start, you're coming back to literally build from where we have stopped in quotes, and you continue from that very particular place. With that being said, fam, always remember this. Eventually, a king will come to power that will say to you, we don't know you, Adebola. We don't know you, Mensa. We don't know you, Fred. We don't know you, Kilebogile. We don't know you because why? You are not from that indigene. Your soil and your bloodline cannot be found on the chronicles of that very particular city where you are as a migrant or a diaspora. But your bloodline from the country where you were born will literally still speak your language. I'm not saying that you cannot be remembered in the country where you are. Not everybody is going to be what's it called, Barack Obama from America. Not everybody, from Kenya. Not all of us is going to be Barack Obama. Not all of us is going to be late Nelson Mandela. Not all of us is going to be Elon Musk, who is from South Africa, currently now making some waves in America. Not everybody. But if you know that this very particular conversation literally touches you, then which means you need to start considering looking at your country Nigeria, South Africa, Ghana, Kenya, Tanzania, Morocco, Rwanda, whatever country you come from, and you are living outside of your country, what money you have invested or you have made, look at some sectors in your country and go back and start building something. If you've not registered on AfriOne Life, please use the information that is available either via the Telegram or probably via the WhatsApp, or maybe you want to literally go on our website, which is afrione.africa, and you'll find a chat bot at that very particular place, and you can then be able to register and enjoy free investment advice that can help you incorporate. And maybe you're a diaspora. If you go on our platform, literally we have a foundation there where you can click diaspora support, and we can be able to help you, to support you as a diaspora coming back home to find a way of starting afresh, regardless of the king that may arise tomorrow and says, we don't know you. I remain your boy, the Afropolitan Apostle Darlington Steve. I'll see you again on the subsequent video, knowing too well that God wants you rested, and the rested life is a reality for you and for me. Bye for now, and God bless you.